go ahead and get started. And it's almost 1 o'clock, so go ahead and get started there. As you see, today is National Tortilla Chip Day, and I have my favorite chips, which is Doritos Salsa Verde chips. And I had some salsa, but it was way too spicy for me today, so I put that away. And so if you get a chance to eat some tortilla chips, it is National Tortilla Chip Day. And we'll go ahead and go to the next slide, which is just introducing multimedia and presentation tools. And that is what I'm using right now, which is Google Slides. There are other types of presentation tools and multimedia tools, and I'll go ahead and go over those. But what your kids can do with those is explain their thinking in a variety of ways, and we'll look at the standards and how they correlate with these technology skills. So let's take a step back and see what they learned in 5th grade. So you know what they should be coming to you in 6th grade with. So in 5th grade, they should have learned how to watch online videos, and they should know how to use the buttons, rewind buttons, pause buttons, forward buttons, and they should be able to take notes all while doing those. They should know how to create, edit, and format text on a slide. And they should know how to create a series of slides and organize them to present research or convey an idea. They should know how to use painting and drawing tools or applications to create and edit work. And they should know how to copy and paste or import graphics. They should know how to change the size of those pictures or graphics and and be able to position them on the slides. And so some of the tips that I gave for elementary teachers was to gauge their progress to see how ready their students are. And so that goes with all students, really. If they are ready for more, go ahead and give them more tools, access to more features that are available in whatever presentation tool you're using. Like I said, there are a lot more tools available other than Google Slides. So, especially up in the upper grades, I'm going to recommend using other types of tools. And you're probably used to things like PowerPoint, Prezi, especially if you used it in college. And there's a plethora of online ones that are available to use as well. The ones that we use consistently in the schools is Google Slides. Those There's a few here. Um, this one is going to be, of course, through Microsoft, but there's Canva, there's Powtoon. Keynote is if you're using a Mac. So with being hybrid and online, some of the students are using their own devices at home. So it just depends on what they're using. Some of them do, I guess you can convert them to a Google Slides if it's coming from PowerPoint. You can convert it. Sometimes the formatting gets a little bit lost, but for the most part, they can convert pretty easily and go back and forth. And so, like I said, it's not just these. There are a ton of different platforms that you can use for presentations. All right, so in 6th grade, all the ones that they learned in 5th grade, you're going to be reinforcing those, the ones I just went over. Excuse me. Still have some chips. So introduce, independently use appropriate technology tools to define problems and propose hypotheses. Hypotheses. And so using graphic organizers, audio, visuals, things like that. And then you're going to reinforce, create presentations for a variety of audiences and purposes with use of appropriate transitions and animations to add interest. So it's a little bit different than what um, as basic as it was in fifth grade to sixth grade. So go ahead and, like I said, what I was encouraging those elementary teachers, if they're ready for those extra features such as transitions and formatting pictures to change things like that, um, those things are available. And if you're not familiar with them yourself, then meet with me. I can show you how to do those things and get you more familiar with the tool like itself. And so they should be able, you're still reinforcing use a variety of technology tools such as the dictionary, thesaurus, grammar checker, calculator, graphing calculator to maximize the accuracy of work. Make strategic use of digital media to enhance understanding. Use painting and drawing tools or applications to create and edit work. Use note taking skills while viewing online videos and using the play, pause, rewind, and stop buttons. So even though those were supposed to be mastered in fifth grade, some of these things, of course, get lost from year to year. So just go ahead and reinforce some of those skills again. So some tips: don't make assumptions that your students know how to do those. So yes, we expect them to know them, but sometimes they come to us from different school districts. They come to us without knowing how to even open a device up if they've never used one before in their life. Maybe they've been homeschooled all their life and they didn't have these tools available, things like that. You just never know what they've been exposed to. So don't make assumptions like, oh, all kids have technology. Sometimes they do not. Sometimes they don't can't afford it or whatever the case may be. So just make sure that they understand how to use it before you actually give them an assignment with having to use a presentation or creating a presentation. So the standards that correlate with using presentation tools are all of these. So go ahead and go over those. The first one is speaking and listening, which is include multimedia components, graphics, images, music and sound, and visual displays in presentations to clarify information. So of course that one makes sense. The second one is writing. Use technology, including the internet, to produce and publish writing, as well as to interact and collaborate with others. Demonstrate sufficient command of keyboarding skills to type a minimum of 3 pages in a single setting. Now, of course, this second part right here of typing 3 pages, you're probably not going to expect your students to type 3 pages in a presentation in that kind of format, but know that their keyboarding skills should be up to par by sixth grade so that when they are typing, it should be pretty fluent by now. If they're not there yet, there are some programs out there for them to increase those skills. Compare and contrast the experience of reading a story, drama, or poem to listening to or viewing an audio, video, or live version of the text, including contrasting what they see and hear when reading the text to what they perceive when they listen or watch. So this one is reading and literature, and then reading for information. On the bottom, oops, I gotta move my mouse so I can see that one. Integrate information presented in a different media or formats, visually, quantitatively, as well as in words to develop a coherent understanding of a topic or issue. So all these kind of go hand in hand when you're creating presentations. So by seventh grade, all of those skills that were being reinforced in sixth grade should be mastered by now. And the only one you're reinforcing was the one that was introduced, which is independently use appropriate technology skills or technology tools, such as graphic organizers, audio visuals, to define problems and propose hypotheses. So many presentation platforms have the ability to add collaborators. And especially with what we're doing right now, working hybrid, working from home, working not in groups like we used to be doing, this is a great way to still be able to collaborate and work together. Is Google Slides, along with a lot of their tools and applications, is you have the ability to work on a single project, whether you're in the same room or not. So you can add collaborators and someone with the same link, or when you share a document, when you share Google Slides, you can work on that together at the same time. So you don't have to even be next to each other. You can still work together on it. So the standards in 6th grade are very similar to the ones in 7th grade. So I'm not going to go into detail, but it is including multimedia components, just like it was in 6th grade. You're still using technology, including the internet. Here it changes just a little bit because it's wanting you to include linking and citing and not just writing 3 pages like it said in 6th grade. So make sure your students are using those citations and they know how to do that. The next one is compare and contrast. So this one is still pretty much the same. Compare and contrast a written story, drama, or poem to its audio, filmed, stage, or multimedia version, analyzing the effects of techniques used to each medium. So this one goes a little bit more into other things like lighting, sound, color, camera focus, and angles in a film. So I know this is talking about presentations, but allow your students to expand on what they are using and bringing into their presentations. And of course, the last one is very much the same. Compare and contrast a text to an audio, video, or multimedia version of the text, analyzing each medium's portrayal of the subject. And I went ahead and grouped 8th through 12th grade because all the skills are the same. And by that time, by 8th grade, all those skills should be mastered. So creating presentation for a variety of audience and purposes with the use of appropriate transitions and animations to add interest. If your students are not sure how to create those transitions, if they're not sure how to add animations to their presentations, then you need to get them up to speed, because by this time their presentations should be like, wow, not like mine. Mine are pretty boring. Mine are just pretty basic, but they should, when they're presenting to the class, presenting to whoever, you could pretend that they're um, giving presentations to different types of audiences. And when I was looking at one of the lessons from Springboard, and I'll go to that one in just a little bit, um, it doesn't really give you the options to, it doesn't say use a presentation. There's a few in there, but there wasn't a whole lot that give you those opportunities. So you really have to get creative um, and kind of like make it up on your own. But I'll show you how to squeeze those presentations in there, because you can really do a whole lot more than just say, hey, answer these questions that are on page such and such. So use a variety of technology tools. So all these are the same ones that they should have already learned. And they've changed the name, so it's not G Suite for Education. It's now Google Space. So when you're using Google Workspace for Education, the tools work together and they can be brought into one project. So if you do have students working together on a larger scale project and they're making a presentation, and maybe you do have somebody writing, and it has to be longer than what fits on a presentation, you can use Google Docs. So it could be doing the writing on a Google Doc and have a link to that. Another student could be working on Google Drawings, and it could be linked to that, or you can bring in that drawing and place it on the Google Slides. and you can have, of course, YouTube videos embedded into your Google Slides, things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Springboard, and if I can find it. It's under my rarely used ones. And I believe I went to grade 7. And I'm going to look at page 131. All right, so this was the one I was kind of looking at. And so the students here are, I think it was this one. You can take just about any lesson and kind of turn it into a presentation, activity, assignment, just by, instead of giving them the questions, saying here are the questions, go ahead and answer them. But here's the questions, and you can just say, give them the story that they're supposed to look at, but then have them go into detail. So this one is looking at spending money, things like that. So create the presentation on what they should be spending, and maybe they would have to create their own graphs. They would have to create something else. They would have to bring in their own sources of what did they see. This was, I looked at some of the dates on here, and it was from 2011. So maybe they could get current prices, current things that are going on, what 8 to 24-year-olds are spending now versus what it was like, that was nearly 10 years ago or 12 years ago. So 11, 2011, what are we, 2021? Yeah, 10 years ago. So that would be something you can do that would, you know, work quite well, with, and I didn't look at every single assignment, but it doesn't really give in the Springboard assignments, and you can do presentation assignments with just about any subject. Math may be a little bit harder to bring in, something with math. I'd have to really talk to some of the math teachers to see if they actually use presentations in their classes. I don't know, but science, social studies, history, English language arts, all those you can really bring in the presentations into the curriculum quite easily. But that's one idea. And so here's the standards, and I kind of went and grouped all the standards. So I'll just go through the 8th and 9th, and of course 10th, 11th, and 11th and 12th are grouped together. So integrating multimedia and visual displays into presentations. And like I said, we can bring in videos, you can bring in GIFs or GIFs, however you want to talk about it. And that really kind of livens up your presentations. And students are, of course, still using internet to produce and publish their writing. And the same thing with the 9th and 10th grade here. So making strategic use of digital media, those textual, graphical, audio. Using audio in a Google Slides is a little different. You do have to go with an outside source. So if you're not familiar with that, let me know. I can meet with you, and I can show you how you can go about doing that. yeah, you can use some different applications to bring in audio to your Google Slides, because Google Slides does not have a button that you can just use right then and there. You have to bring something else in. And so these are pretty much the same as the other grades. It doesn't change a whole lot from 11th and 12th either. That, my friends, is the sweet and short version of presentation skills in the secondary level. I can hang around, and if you have any questions on using presentation tools, or if you have questions, I can open up presentation, Google Slides, and answer any questions you may have. But that is it for now. You're welcome. Yep.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Have a great afternoon.
You too.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.